1:15.
1:15. Still here.
Still here.
Still here.
Still on the couch. Couch is not here.
Not here, but we're here. We should just start the episode by naming all the things that are not here, but that we're still here. Mm-hmm. And that will really be compelling content.
Well, if the goal is to get watch hours, then actually maybe that's a bad idea.
So we have a topic, and it actually took off from a conversation we had last weekend with our friend and then I made a statement that I thought was maybe offensive to you. But I don't think I'm wrong, but it is slightly sexist. It is a sexist statement. That if marriage were to end, and I'm not saying 100%, but majority of the time, it would be due to a man's desire to work things through.
Right. As opposed to women who I would agree probably have a stronger desire in general, big sweeping stereotype brushstrokes. Women have a stronger desire to, work things through than men do.
Yeah. And if the woman is ending the marriage, I would say that it's not because she doesn't want to work this through, is that she has tried and tried and tried and tried again. And it's just, at this point, nothing is changing. This is not making any progress. That something needs to change, and the change is not happening. Therefore, there's nowhere to go. It's like almost like that resolve only happens, at least I say with the women, after so many attempts of trying.
Right. I mean, if it ends, then, yeah. One party is unwilling to try hard enough, I guess. Mm-hmm. Which, there's no judgment here. That doesn't mean that's a good or bad thing if a relationship ends. But yeah, right. If both parties are willing to try, I would say most of the time the relationship can probably continue.
Well, willing to try and then actually commit to whatever's happening in the marriage, something has to change in order for that not to happen again.
Right.
And the only way it would continue to happen is if one of the parties is not willing to change. And I don't know, maybe it is a sexist statement to assume that would be and the man. And I made that statement kind of like off the cuff in our conversation because I actually think so.
I think you're probably right.
But I don't have a large
I don't know if it's 99
sample piece.
99% to 1%, but I think it is more than 50%, yeah.
Yeah. Like every single time I've had a conversation with a woman of why their marriage ended. Now I know I'm having a conversation with a woman of why the marriage ended. What's
your sample size of conversations with men about it?
No, I've had a lot of, back in my corporate days, I would, men specialize in
blabbing on about.
Yeah, why she's a bitch and blah, 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 blah.
But now I'm single.
Yeah, but now I'm single. Yeah, and all of those.
Can't imagine why that one didn't last.
Yeah, but the net result is, energetically, I can feel, yes, a man would blame the other party, and let's say in most cases it's another woman, right? But I know, how about this? Maybe I'm projecting. I know the depth I would go through to end a marriage if there is a forward progress into change to where I see something changes, right? This is like just a generalized, I'm not saying this for the gossip, but like I saw that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have split up, right?
Yeah.
And there for the longest time, I remember her talking about how he has a huge drug addiction and that he keeps on struggling with it and struggling with it and struggling with it. And this is judgment. And I thought, well, how much can you struggle with it? Like, if this is going to bring your marriage down,
right?
Like kind of like figure out why you have a drug addiction,
right,
and don't have it,
right?
Or don't, or save your marriage.
I don't know. I mean, drugs aren't my thing. Gambling isn't my thing. So it's super easy for me to go, ooh, how hard could that be? But the thing with drugs,
that's an easy one, I guess.
To me is just don't have drugs available to you. Like with alcohol, just don't go to bars. And that seems like that doesn't solve the problem, but that at least takes away access to it.
Yeah, but you have to solve the problem.
But yeah, you still have
level.
to solve the problem.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because otherwise you'll just replace, hopefully you can replace drug addiction with exercise.
Sure.
And be all fit.
At the very least, you can replace a bad habit with a better habit.
Yeah, but in the long run, obviously the right thing to do is to address the trauma that is causing you to go into addiction.
Of course.
Hence our podcast. So, yeah. And so I said that, and I know, and then, unfortunately a friend like took it bad, like as if like anybody who's out there whose divorce is damaged. And I'm like, no, honestly, I just quite literally just meant men. And I'm like, okay, I can see how there's a lot of sexist statements there that I think that, but as damaged as we all are, and I will clarify this, we're all damaged, both men and women, but women tend to want to work on their damage more so, right? Like anytime we talk about, doing cacao ceremonies or even, our friend mentioned, any kind of like workshops or anything, it's women.
Yeah,
women are always
it's
going
80,
there.
90% women.
They're always trying to better themselves, understand why they react the way they do, why they're scared, why they're controlling, why are they weak? We're always, especially right now, this is even before right now, I think in general, this has been the pattern with women. Right.
I think culturally, it hasn't been like acceptable for a man to, express his feelings and talk about things like that. And certainly, from my experience, men seem to have, bigger ego problems than women. I've met some women that have big ego problems, but I've met a lot more men that do too. So the idea that, that as a man, I'm doing something wrong and I need to fix it is a personal shot. And so it's easier to leave a situation than it is to accept that, I've done something wrong, or I need to change, or I need to whatever. Sweeping statements, but
I know, but like 0% of the time, like
right. No, I mean,
to say to have a statement where you're never wrong.
No, I know. Like, and it's depending on how bad it is, it's like, well, it'd be okay if I'm wrong with another man, but I can't be wrong to a woman. God forbid.
Why so?
Not me, but there are people like that.
Because but why so? Like because we're inferior sex?
I think that was this 1950s Mad Men era mindset. Probably started before the 50s, but where the man has to do has to go make all the money and provide and whatever, and the woman is relegated to the housework and child care and something. And there's this idea that making the money and supporting the house is so much of a more important thing than whatever the woman does, and that just reinforced that men are more important and therefore they're better, and therefore anything that would knock them down a notch, especially if it also bumps the woman up a notch, is unthinkable. So I can't be wrong in the marriage if that means that right. But B, especially if it means that my wife is right.
Oh, because then you lose position, you lose the status in marriage.
I mean, whether I personally don't think that causes any sort of status loss, but in their mind, I think it probably does. Whether that's to themselves or whether that's some sort of perceived status loss. Oh, now I think that she thinks that I'm lesser. I don't know. Those were weird times.
Yeah, you say 1950s, but I think it's like.
But I think there's still
industrial
a lot of,
era was that
women stayed home. I think there's still a lot of that. We had a former neighbor who was very much in that mindset. He happened to be sleeping with his secretary during their marriage too, but
control.
Yeah.
So control the women.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just yeah. Maybe that's it. It's just they feel powerful if they can control women, control the situation that women are in, control what they do, where they are, who they're with. Which is pretty messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew someone, a man who they were done having children, and then he wanted another child in order to make sure she continues to stay at home under his control.
And perfectly normal, perfectly healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, he verbalized that to me.
Yeah.
Right? And they had another child, and she continued to stay home.
Right. I think about the environment that child's growing up in too. It's like now here's another living human soul who's growing up in something that's started off in like the most unhealthiest of situations.
Yeah, but like, I guess.
I mean, maybe it works. The child is a huge wild card. It can bring people together. It can push people apart.
Yeah. Well, no, and I'm not saying even that they were apart, but the status quo of the marriage had.
Now that the kids are old enough, they're at school all day. Maybe she wants to go work. Maybe she wants to do something. But here's a big reset. Guess what? You're stuck at home.
Yeah,
full time for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, the amount of freedom she was going to gain by the fact that the children were mostly grown and taken care of, and she can go out into the workforce and start making her own money and start gaining independence was a threat, and he didn't want her to be independent.
Wow.
And therefore had another child.
I remember when the neighbor started, he started biking I assume to get in shape because he, found his secretary at work or whatever. But I'm out running some morning, and I run by him, and he's leaving on his bike, and he's like, "Wait, your wife stays at home all day too, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we both work out of the house." He's like, "Yeah, it's good." And whatever he said, it was like, that's good that your wife is at home, because my wife is at home because that's where they belong. That was just implicit in his thing. He's just like, yeah. And he looked at me as if he'd found some sort of kindred spirit who's all for this. And I'm just like, okay. I just kept going. He was a piece of work.
No, I guess it's interesting to me because I don't understand it as much, but like I can just like, now I'm like reaching back into all the personal stories that I've heard both from women and men, and then also like reaching back into fictional television, right? Or that's the pattern. Like,
no, I've seen a lot of
pattern
that.
of control.
Yeah. And I've seen,
and I'm not saying it's wrong for a woman to stay at home to take care of the children. It's not that. It is the dynamic that in this case it paints within the marriage, right? That, this is a way of men psychologically thinking that they have control over women.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's manipulation.
Yeah, manipulation for control.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, it's interesting because obviously with us, we have never been in that dynamic, and my parents were not in this dynamic at all. Like my mom not working was like our family not surviving. So like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and then my grandma, who then quit her job in order to take care of me when I was little, that was not to have my grandfather have control over grandma. At least I don't think so. Although she was really upset
about getting her job, because she had a really
high paying, good job. Yeah. And grandfather basically made her leave in order to.
Maybe it was. So did he have a good high paying job too?
No,
she was making more money?
I know. Actually, he was making more money, but she actually loved what she was doing. I say that now, like that I think about it, the guy she was working with, she was very much attracted to him.
Oh, so maybe he was like, hey, let's get you out of this situation where things could go wrong.
Well, or maybe she was jealous, or yeah, maybe. So maybe he was, but she was obviously not happy with the whole situation. Which, then I'm the outcome of why she's staying home. So not feeling like a burden from birth was I say birth. My mom had a maternity leave for 3 years paid, right? In Europe you get it, at least in Ukraine. You get a paid maternity leave.
Socialism there.
For 3 years.
Did you imagine?
So mom was with me for 3 years full time. And then after that, somebody needed to watch me.
Yeah.
And I guess most people would just put their kids in preschool, but they didn't want to do that. And I guess I was considered weak,
Because you were in the hospital all the time?
Well, yes, but why? Just because I needed to be in the hospital, or because that was the perception? You know what I mean?
You needed all the shots.
Well, no, and I ended up being in the hospital all the time after that, like after I started elementary school.
Oh, that's right. You went to kindergarten for like 3 days or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was torture. Oh my gosh. I still remembered the torture of kindergarten for 3 days. There's something trapped within me. And I realized this, and I almost started crying again because I'm like, oh, look, I still have yet to process that. Of being somewhere and standing by the window and being trapped inside, and then the freedom being outside, and I can't go to freedom because I'm trapped inside, which is basically a prison cell if you think about it. Like, that is an idea of a prison cell.
Right.
But that's what kindergarten was to me, was a prison cell. And then every time I was in a hospital, it was also a prison cell. And I was in a hospital a lot, which seemed like a lot. And then at a hospital, they don't allow visitation. Like, the parents cannot come into the ward. Like, it's ward, so you don't see your parents.
Gosh,
and
it is a prison.
It is a prison. But like once a day during a 1 hour time frame, people can come and visit. Oh, like in prison, you know how like
sign in.
Is
there a glass wall with a phone you have to talk across?
Yeah, right. It almost felt that way. Yeah.
No touching.
And so my parents sometimes wouldn't be able to make it depending on their job schedule, right?
But you didn't know. So just some days they don't show up.
I don't know. It was, oh my
gosh.
Right in the United States, they like when people say, "Oh, you were in a hospital a lot as a child." In America, like, "Oh, and therefore mom and dad are in the room with you."
Yeah.
No. I was alone at the hospital without mom and dad for weeks at a time, which is like super traumatic to a child. Like, people don't understand how traumatizing it is to a child.
It's amazing. You're a high-functioning adult today.
I don't think I'm a high-functioning adult. Maybe that is why I make generalized statement about men not wanting to work through things, is because I'm not a high-functioning adult. No, I want to clarify. Everyone is fucked up. There's not a person, like, I don't know a person who's not fucked up. But like the willing to admit to your own fucked upness goes a long way to then willing to work towards the change that not is even affecting you, like not even for your own well-being. But the statement that I made with a friend is for their continuation of a relationship, right?
No,
and if the children are involved, then this for the continuation of the family.
Right. If you don't admit it to yourself, honestly, you might even be able to admit it to someone else than it is to admit it to yourself. But if you can't admit something to yourself, you don't really have a lot of hope of changing whatever that might be. Because if you can't admit it to yourself, you, like, by definition, don't take it seriously, I think. Like, if you can't go, I really have a drinking problem. I seriously do. Oh my gosh, I really do. If you can't believe that, then you, I think, don't think you have a drinking problem.
Yeah. Well, but if you don't admit that, then there's no responsibility on your end. It is somebody else's fault all the time.
I think it does help to go, hey, partner, friend, world, coworker, I have a drinking problem. I'm going to stop drinking. And then, to almost commit to it verbally out there. And that, if nothing else, you feel a little extra pressure to to make a change. Like, okay, well now I've told someone. Now it's if I don't do it, it's not just letting myself down. Now there's someone else gonna bug. It's gonna see it. I heard something that said, if you're trying to make a change, don't word it as, I'm trying to do this, I'm aspiring to do that. Word it as if like, I'm a non-smoker. I don't drink. Even if you're still struggling to quit, if you say I'm trying to stop smoking, it almost is giving yourself permission to. Well, I'm trying, but failing. But if you word it emphatically, like I am a non-smoker, I am a successful person, I am a whatever, it shifts your mindset a little bit into
It shifts your mindset, but I think it also I would think, to me, it would then showcase that I'm behaving antithetical to my own desire.
Yeah. It
like when you do reach for a drink, then you'll be like, this is not
who I am.
Who I am, or who I want to be.
Right. Like I've read this in several different ways, but like if you can just define things, and I know we've talked a lot about definitions, but if you can just define things for yourself, like I don't drink, and just make that some sort of, you can call it a rule for yourself, then it's like there's no debate. Well, do I want the drink or not? Do I want the drink or not is not the question. The answer is I don't drink. Therefore, it isn't even an option. You're slicing off options that you have decided, I don't want these options anymore. I don't want the option to drink, so I don't drink. And now that's me. I don't smoke. Okay. I don't gamble. Okay. Well, then you won't find yourself in positions where gambling is an option. And if you do, it's really, what's the answer? I don't gamble. That's just my rule.
Yeah. But like all of that is like commitment to
right. Those
to
are tips and tricks to help with commitment to something. But before you do that, you do have to admit, I have a drinking problem. I have a gambling problem, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange. I think I guess there's this idea that, and I say this, but just again making a sexist comment here, that men think that everything will continue to function at status quo as long as they continue to function at a status quo. And if they enforce the status quo, meaning like, no, I don't like that about you, don't do that, right? Then they're locking in the status quo, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can wrap my head around that because I think I've felt that way at times where I'm very comfortable at some point in time, and it changes, or at least certain changes, disrupt my comfort. When you were starting along your spiritual path and I was not, that was very disruptive to my status quo. And I didn't know what to do with that. It was like, oh, everything used to be fine. Was it really? Well, it's kind of beside the point, but probably not. But everything was fine to me. But now you've thrown a monkey wrench into it. And, I didn't really, I kind of disregarded like, well, turns out this is just you. This is just who you are, who you want to be. You're doing the things you want to do, and you're expressing what you believe and stuff. And all that was incredibly threatening to my status quo.
How so?
Everything felt very comfortable before that. There were not all these things which I, at the time, would have deemed weird or crazy or, embarrassing. And then all of a sudden, it's like the floodgates are open, and I didn't know what that meant. What that meant for you, for me, for the kids, for our relationship, for everything seemed up in the air. And so it was very threatening. But, you know, we've said before and we've heard before that, like, a lot of time when one person in a relationship starts heading down a spiritual path, frequently that will they will lose friends or family or, you know, a partner in that, because you could say it's the new them, or you could say it's the them that's been there all along, that's been, you know, covered up by societal norms or whatever. Turns out that person who has come out is not as compatible with their friend or partner or family or whatever as the old version, which is fine. That's, you know, I got no judgment on that, right? Because
compatible, like dissect compatible.
Like if it, you know, you could imagine that there's this couple who are both like incredibly fundamentally religious, and, you know, some sort of, you know, I was like crazy fundamental, and then one decides, yeah, you know what, I this religion thing isn't working out for me. Okay, well, that's just a huge disruption to the status quo, and I can see how that would lead the one who continues to be fundamentally religious to there's a rift there, right? I'm not saying that that's an unbridgeable gap, but it might be. If the religion is more important than the marriage, then the marriage will lose. If the status quo is more important than the marriage, and for some things it might be. You know, if you have been brought up your entire life believing, you know, anyone who doesn't go to church is just subhuman. They're just unsavably wrong and bad and whatever. And then all of a sudden your spouse is like, yeah, this doesn't work for me. I'm not going to do this anymore. Yeah, that would be a big hurdle to get over. Because it's like you have two opposing views. It's like, I love this person, I want to be with them, and on the other hand, my entire life I've been brought to believe what they're doing is horribly, horribly wrong in every possible way. It's like, how do you bridge that?
I love that you give this as an example of a religious fundamentalism, right? Fundamentalism, is that what the word? But like, you're still you're using those words, but you're still describing our situation.
Yeah, well, it was the opposite in my situation.
What do you mean?
It was that in our situation, I was completely secular. I had zero religious beliefs at all. And I thought it was all, any sort of religious or spiritual stuff was a bunch of hibbity-jibbity. No. And then you start doing that. What do you mean, no? I was brought up in a fundamentalist religious thing. This is true.
You were brought up in a fundamentalist religious thing. But then you basically become,
180 degrees the other way.
Yeah. And then what I'm bringing up is actually not a fundamentalist religious thing, is what your fundamentalist thing religion would consider a cult.
Witchcraft.
Sure.
Yeah.
Witchcraft.
No, mine was the cult.
I said occult.
Oh, occult. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Occult is a nicer way of saying witchcraft.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
So what you're describing is actually that. So I think the reason why you did that is because deep down, when you're brought up in a religious fundamentalist cult view, that is the measurement against you were measuring my statements. You were not measuring them against, all of a sudden I don't believe in any of that stuff. You're still measuring them from your descendant fundamentalist cult view.
I don't think so. I really don't.
You think so?
I don't think it was that. I think it was for me with us. I think it was much more. I don't think there was any religious. This is wrong in a religious sense. It was
wrong in an embarrassing sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was embarrassing
only,
because I didn't believe it, because I didn't believe in any of it. Because I had gone 180 degrees to, if it's not in the science book, it's not real. And so it was just a whole bunch of nonsense to me. And that's why it was embarrassing. Not because the Bible says it's bad.
Well, but go a little bit higher on the elevation level. The only reason somebody would cling on to anything that Bible says from the fundamental standpoint, or the only reason anybody would cling on to everything the Bible says is wrong, or everything only science and science only is the truth. Anytime you would have any kind of clinging is because there's some sort of identity that you're trying to define, therefore derive safety from.
Right.
So none of clinging is actually clinging to anything other than stabilizing into non-movement.
My identity from late teens up until just a couple of years ago was I'm a scientist, I'm an engineer. If it doesn't, if it's not in the science books, it's not real.
And why is that important?
I mean, I felt great. I found great safety in that, right? Okay, here the world is explainable, understandable, mostly, and if it's not, then it's just we just haven't figured it out yet. But there's no. Here are the forces of nature. They have been listed and enumerated, and we have formulas for them, and that's it. There's a spirit interacting with something that doesn't make sense. It's not in the list of formulas. Clearly, it's not there. Here's the list. It's, page 3 of the book. No, I mean, I still find safety and comfort in. I mean, it's a sense of control, right? If I understand it, that makes me feel like I have some illusion of control. I know that is super obvious right now, and so. I mean, I've always liked physics because it made sense. And here's the formulas. And they just explain everything away. Everything is explained. And at some point, I think I believe that consciousness was some sort of really, really complicated pinball machine going on inside the head. We don't understand it yet. Is how I probably would have worded it. Surely, we'll scan enough brains with electron microscopes and we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. I don't think that anymore. But
it's just idea. So the idea of control.
Yes, but it is a control thing.
This goes back to right. Your desire for our status quo to remain the same would be the same status quo of somebody forcing somebody to have a child with them in order to maintain that status quo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So any kind of threat into a relationship that then would change your interaction with that being or control over that being.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see it.
So I'm like, I say that we didn't have that as a status quo, but maybe we did have it as a status quo.
Right. No, it was.
Because I did, I knew that there were subjects that you and I would not touch. Because inevitably we would get into an argument or a fight.
Yeah.
And then, inevitably, what it was? It's not that fight would be new. Is I knew there's a set of things we don't talk about it in order to pretend like everything is okay.
Yeah.
And when I started on this path, obviously there could no longer be set of things we don't talk about it to pretend like everything is okay.
Yeah.
And I think the threatening part in the marriage or any relationship that comes about is when you finally acknowledge, I can no longer have the set of things that we don't talk about it in order to pretend like everything's okay.
Right. No, that was right. I mean, that's a milestone in a marriage is to get rid of the list of, okay, here's what here's subjects to avoid.
Yeah, right? But over 20 years in the past, we've had a long list.
Yeah.
Like, we know we don't go there because guess what? Chances are we're not making progress on resolving any of it.
We just have different views on this subject, and for some reason, that's not okay.
No, besides that, right, like to begin with, your mother was in that bucket. Our sex life, I use the word sex there very loosely, it was in that bucket, right? A belief system about psychics and ghosts was in that bucket. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, even though fundamentally we can continue to be in a relationship because we agree mostly on, okay, you raise children this way, you don't raise children that way. That bucket still is a bucket that builds resentment.
Right.
Both for you and me.
Right.
Deep down, that is the only bucket. Those, if you want to have a set of buckets or one box or whatever you want to call it, that is the only driving factor in the marriage. And if you're sitting there going, here's the word we don't talk about, then the resentment of that just grows and grows and grows and grows.
Right. No, I think it does. I think having those off-limit topics because they're uncomfortable, or it isn't even.
It would be obvious that change needs to take place.
Right.
Right. Like if any of those subjects were to be resolved, what it would require is commitment to change things, both on the women's end and the men's end.
Right.
And then there's commitment and responsibility, because that means we're finally acknowledging that the current status quo, as comfortable it might seem to some, has not been working, period.
Right. Right.
And that's the part that everybody will balk on.
And
I say men balk on.
And that's super threatening, right? And these are, we can disagree on, I like blue and you like purple, and that's fine. It's not like you can't have things that you disagree on. It's that there are some things, and this list, I guess, would vary from couple to couple, that are kind of fundamental.
Well, think about it. You say that, and this is what I thought of. Sometimes, remember, don't go into this discussion, but I'm just going to give you an example. Do you remember how ticked off you were about that whole gold dress, purple dress? And only thing is a color difference thing. And so you would say, something is blue and something is purple, and it's benign.
I said I prefer blue, I prefer purple.
Whatever. But in that color, it's a color.
Yeah.
And then this was a color discussion, and you lost it. Like marriage ending level, lost it.
Yeah, no, I did. I felt very passionately about
it. I don't want to go into the details, but do you see what I mean? So deep down, this bucket of no-nos that we don't talk about, well, actually, it seeps itself, right? It's just like the piles of poop. It seeps itself out in fumes, and it inserts itself in all of the little conversations that actually do not matter. Because the resentment, right, or these unresolved issues that are really at the forefront are always at the forefront. But because you're refusing to address them head on, they just creep into everything else that is marriage.
Yeah.
And so all the conversations are actually not about colors or dresses. It's about these things that you're not going to touch because it's too volatile, or, I don't even know where to go on that. Or like, we need to go to a therapist, but all therapists suck ass, so we don't even know where to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that is the only box that matters. And I would say that most women, are very aware of what those boxes are. And I would say that men are aware, but refuse to acknowledge, and you refuse to take steps to do anything about acknowledging of those boxes.
Right. It's like, I knew that I was acutely aware that there were topics I wanted to avoid. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's when I make the sexist statement of who's unwilling, is because from the inception of any relationship, you already have like, oh shit, these things are like need to be resolved in order for us to have a healthy relationship. Like, at least for us, the relationship started that way. Like, it was very much, everything was in hindsight that like, oh, guess what? The mommy issue is already there. And it's only going to get worse. And it did continue to get worse and worse and worse until a full-on explosion on my end. And then, but for you, it continued to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was thinking why it is, I've had this list to gotta avoid the topics. And it's because I thought if we talk about one of these topics, there's no way it ends good. Either we have a big argument, in which case, what's the point? Or it would require some sort of sizable change on my side, because I didn't think that the argument discussion would end up with some sort of change that you need to make, or at least there's no way that I'm going to convince you that this is your problem to fix, right? For most of my young life before I met you, I was pretty good at arguing or debating, and I would come away from things with what I wanted most of the time. And then I met you.
I'm just in shock that ever happened.
Right now I am too. Well, I guess I was surrounded by a bunch of dummies.
I'm like, how is this possible that you would convince anybody of anything?
And so I just thought I was the smartest guy in the room most of the time. And so then I meet you, and I'm like, how long have we been married? 22 years. I haven't won an argument yet.
Shut up.
Right. But I'm being 100% serious. That was incredibly threatening, and there's a big sense of control that was lost in that. So when it comes down to something trivial that doesn't matter, like the color of the dress or whatever, right? If I can win that, then I feel like, okay, I have a little bit of control.
Yeah, but it's stemming out of this untouched bucket. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, the micro conversations, micro arguments about nonsensical things, right, are just triggers about the thing that is not being addressed. But the thing that is not being addressed, in truth, is the only driving factor in the marriage. And that thing requires change. And like in your case, you thought the change would only be on you, right? And you're afraid like, okay, well, Tanya's really good at winning arguments. And so therefore, it would be on me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought. And I'm like, and I didn't know what that change looked like, and it seemed too big to handle, and nebulous, and anything that's undefined and nebulous is huge, and so it's scary, and it's undefined, and it's lack of control.
Yeah. But like, to dissect it, the truth is, it's not that you didn't know how the change looked like. It's that you deep down knew what you wanted to do and needed to do, but you were too afraid to do it yourself, which is finding your voice.
Yeah, I guess. That right there is.
So like, to take this box,
probably fundamentals of most of them, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to take this box, to go this nebulous box that we don't talk about it, and then therefore you're afraid of the responsibility and the change you're going to have to make because you are, let's say you are responsible for portions of this box. The truth is, the only reason why this box even exists is because you're refusing to admit to deep down hidden secrets that you feel within yourself that cause you to behave to where this box still exists, right? So at the core, it doesn't seem like it, but the truth is, it's like your own shadow that designs this box. The box in marriage that exists between two people carries responsibility for you to address your shadow because this box is created out of that shadow, right?
Right.
So yeah, you don't know how to go about it because deep down you knew how big you need to go. And so I think this is what it is. It's not that we don't know how to solve something, it's that we know, but we're just pretending not to know because deep down we don't want to commit to that much work.
Seems so big.
It's overwhelming, which I agree does seem overwhelming. You don't even know where to start. And it's scary. And so deep down, it's not that you're not able to do it. You're just too afraid and unwilling to do that much work. Right? So to me, like, the resolve from women comes not out of this thing is too big and I'm not willing to stick with you through next years of hell while you figure this shit out. It's you're not even willing to look into it to start to figure shit out.
Right.
And that's why I make the sexist statement of it's the will. It's not that we're not fucked up, and it's not that I'm not fucked up and contributed into this box. I'm as fucked up as you are, but I know that I'm willing to do the work necessary to unravel this fucker. But then at the same time, you need to do the work on your end to unravel the fucker.
It needs to be, it's a proper partnership.
And if it's not a partnership, me doing my work to unravel myself and then fix this, it's beneficial towards me, but it's going to fix me. It's not going to fix this because this is an entity of 50-50 between both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's the sexist statement that I make is that is the requirement from a 50% partner in a relationship to willing to fix the marriage. But fixing the marriage equates to unraveling the deep shadow and fear of your childhood and your childhood trauma. And that is the only way to fix it. And I know women who are too afraid to go into that space, but I know most men are too afraid to go into that space. And they have all kinds of excuses and reasons and all kinds of stories that they tell of why they're not trapped in their childhood trauma, right? But they are. They're just like women are, the men are too. But men are just viscerally running away from their mommy issues. And I say that, right? But it just simply, like, to me, that is like the easiest, there's no trick. It's just mommy issues. And with women, it's mommy issues and daddy issues. So it's like, wouldn't it be a great thing to admit to and finally start unraveling that?
Right.
As opposed to deny the fact that it is mommy issues. And I know, like, anytime I would say that to you, you would take it as a shot. But it's just it. It's like the easiest solution ever. Start unraveling your mommy and daddy issues.
Right. I mean, there's some level of maturity where it's like you have to like accept that, oh, that's true, even though that sounds bad or sounds, I don't even know what.
But how is it bad? Other than like, oh shit, that is literally a tool. Like, if you needed to knock a nail into a board and you had a fucking screwdriver, you're going to spend a lot of fucking time dicking around with that and not making any progress.
I've done that plenty of times.
Or I can hand you a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
And mommy and daddy issues as like a generalized statement is the hammer. It's a tool that will get you to your job quicker.
I mean, there's a maturity to realize that this is an actual real thing that can be addressed. And addressing it, A, may very well help your relationship. Probably, I mean, it will certainly help your relationship. But B, it's something that is just fundamentally important to do for yourself, even regardless.
Yeah, yeah.
But the relationship, even if it doesn't save your relationship, this will pay back in dividends for the rest of your life.
But any broken relationship is just unwillingness of one or both parties to address their childhood trauma.
I think that's probably true.
No, that's it. There's nothing in the world other than ingrained childhood trauma that causes each one of us to be broken, right? Or just, I say broken, but if you want to extrapolate it out to a higher extent, just denying self, right? You're denying self. And when you deny self, and you go into a relationship, that relationship is an extension of you denying self. Right? So like, oh, here's the no-no square where I don't go with myself. That becomes a no-no square for your relationship. And that becomes the main problem in your relationship.
Yeah.
Your relationship is quite literally just a reflection of all the things you do not want to talk about with yourself. You don't want to admit to with yourself.
Yeah, right. All the things that like, they were off limits for us to talk about, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't even talk about them with myself.
Well, no, but that becomes the primary issue in the relationship.
Sure. It becomes this here's my lockbox of things I don't want to ever think about. Put them all in there, lock it up, and chuck it into the ocean. There we go. Problem solved.
But
they're gone.
But that chuck is literally you throwing away any willingness to make any relationship work. I'm like saying any, like quite literally, whether it's with your current partner or any future partner.
Or with yourself.
Oh, yeah. It's a generalized statement is nothing will work until you address the no square of your childhood trauma.
And that doesn't mean everything will become magically fixed overnight.
But you don't even have a chance at baseline good start.
Yeah. But yeah. You just really, it's just start. Just start. And, every day in every way, you can get a little better. But you're not if you've got this, here's my box of off-limit topics, and you just never even look at them. It's some sort of weird, irony that it's like, I was aware enough that these are things that I don't want to think about, I don't want to talk about, but not aware enough that, dealing with these might fix them. Or I say fix, but I'll say fix, right? Whatever the external issue out there is may or may not go away, but my relationship with it could be fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit in advance of like the issue's still there, but how you deal with it is different.
Right. But that's like saying, you've got a terrible boss or a terrible parent or whatever. And it's like that may or may not change, but that's, guess what? There's a war going on, that may or may not change, and if you're really bothered by the war sucks. Sure. Okay. But you can't really do much about the war, but you can do something about your relationship with the war.
Yeah, or reaction.
Your reaction to the war, right?
Yeah, but relationship reaction, desire to act or not act, how you perceive it, how you see it.
It was either, I get them confused, either Elie Wiesel or Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor, who's like, the one thing that, that they can't take away is our reaction to whatever happens. I'm paraphrasing it horribly, but yeah, right. Good stuff happens, bad stuff happens, and we live in this constant state of reaction. Oh, good stuff happens, now we're happy. Oh, bad stuff happens, now we're sad, and our entire emotional state is just a reactional feedback loop of whatever the environment is giving us. And while when that feels good, I guess it feels good, but it's just set up for a roller coaster ride because sometimes it rains.
Yeah.
But if you've got these big no topics that realistically they will pop up every now and then. If it's dealing with your mother, that's going to come up every now and then. It's just will. And so that's a very bumpy part of the roller coaster ride that keeps coming up over and over and over. And it was not obvious to me that there is a way to smooth that out at all.
Other than finding it.
Yeah, but even that wouldn't really fix it. I mean, it wouldn't fix, I guess, okay, now I don't have to talk to you about it, but I still don't feel any better about it. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, here's this whole topic that I get to avoid with the next girlfriend or whatever. It doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I think on the last podcast we talked about like the amount of avoidance that we have, and I know this is like, my goal is not to target men in this, but I'm just, I obviously I have that avoidance as well, right? These blind spots that as much energy as I put into making sure that I am functioning out of awareness of what pain bodies is spoken, so I can not functioning out of pain body, but be aware of where this is coming from and then choose to react from the higher perspective of, open heart format, as opposed to whatever unsafety trigger it brings in. Obviously, I will still have blind spots.
Yeah.
But I think that dedication to choosing truth as opposed to choosing a lie is really kind of the difference to me. Like, I realize that everything that is not true is just a lie. Mm-hmm. And sometimes lie feels really good. Do you know what I mean?
It feels good because we get to avoid what we are going to perceive as some sort of uncomfortable, painful experience.
Yeah.
That's why it's not that the lie feels good. It's that the lie feels good in as much as it is an absence of some sort of other suffering. Now, at some point, I've begrudgingly come to the conclusion that, well, while yes, that may avoid some sort of temporary suffering, it just sort of prolongs the more chronic suffering. And so, again, this is my mathematical control side, but I'm like, I boil it down to some sort of equation of, and I still don't even always apply this, but I do believe that the acute discomfort of dealing with an issue, there is less total suffering in that than living with it chronically forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's never as big as
it has never been as big as I was afraid it would be.
The fear that you held
not
on
once.
to it. Yeah.
And I've dealt with all kinds of unpleasantries, and it has not once been as big as I was afraid it would be.
Yeah. I think what it comes down to, the size that you think it is actually not the size, and I think, again, I will reposition this to men more so than women. I think the size of it actually equates to the fear of becoming vulnerable yourself. It's the fear of vulnerability, and that dictates the size. Deep down, you recognize, in order to go into that space, I have to become vulnerable. I have to become a child, acknowledging how I feel, how broken I feel as a child. And the vulnerability of that, especially in the relationship where there's another woman where you're supposed to be a strong man and you're supposed to be in charge and you're supposed to be in control, and all of a sudden you become a vulnerable child in front of a woman that you're supposed to not be that with, that delta makes most men run away from this space. I will have to become vulnerable in order to acknowledge this is my truth.
Right.
And in order to unravel this, I have to maybe start crying and be super, super weak, and maybe even be visually weak and weaker than the woman that I'm next to.
Right.
And like, maybe younger men are more likely to go into that space.
My generation, that is not okay to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that was never explicitly taught to me, but somehow between the lines, that was my understanding of, well, men are strong and you're not supposed to cry, and you gotta, do whatever, do the hard stuff, whatever. The men, make the money, and but the women can make the money too. It's not like you got to stay at home. There were quite a few years where your take-home salary was more than mine when we were gainfully employed in the corporate world. And there were a lot of my coworkers who that would have really bothered if their girlfriend or wife made more money than them. And I could not wrap my head around that. I'm like, but it's more money. It's just more money. Who cares whose name is on the paycheck? It's just more money. But that would have been such a big shot to their ego, because money is this really tight proxy to importance or status or
Self-worth.
ego or worth, self-worth. Maybe it's just self-worth.
Self-worth, yeah.
That, if he makes 90 and she makes 100, then she's literally, that's not 10%. If he makes 100 and she makes 110, she's literally 10% more valuable than I am. And I'm like, wow, you're really shooting yourself in the foot with that type of a mindset.
Yeah, but that comes down to self-worth as the outflow of self-worth in comparison of income between you and your wife or your partner comes down to you need to feel important, and you're using money or income as a proxy of why you are important, or why you are a good husband, or why you are a good man, or why you are a good human, because I make X amount of money.
Yeah.
And then if you tie your net worth to money, because your self-esteem is tied to monetary numbers as you determining that you're a good human being, deep down, that driving factor then goes into, well, deep down, I actually think I'm unworthy, or a bad husband, or a bad man, or just probably unworthy human. And I have set up this belief system that me making X amount of money more than my wife makes me better, or more than my neighbor, or more than the idea of less. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're just competing not against somebody else, but the idea of less.
Yeah.
And so as long as I continue to make good money and more money and more money, then I will be worthy.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredibly prevalent in America. I don't even know that it's that prevalent in Europe. I think over there it's very common that people will, it's like, oh, here's the salary rate, oh, you're a 3-year level 2 engineer, your salary is X, or maybe it's a tight range of X to Y or whatever. So everybody knows what everybody's making. Over here, oh, you can't talk about salary, God forbid. That we really do define our personal self-worth by how much we make, how much we have, the size of our house, what kind of a car we drive, how young and pretty is my wife, how well behaved are my children, how good does my grass look outside? Ours doesn't look very good. That just means we're shitty people.
Yeah, but it's deep down, you don't feel worthy. You don't feel like you're enough.
Yeah. But here's some sort of material thing that will make you feel better.
Yeah. And you're lost to the deep root cause of it, which is what I'm saying. If you reached into it and you actually went into the deep cause, that's when you're crying and when you feel vulnerable. But at the surface, you can numb off your emotions of feeling that way and pacify the feeling that is actually feeding that unworthiness with grass or money or young wives.
It's super nefarious. It's more obvious when it's, oh, well, if you don't eat, Honey Nut Cheerios brand cereal, you're not going to grow up and be healthy. Or that's not a good example. If you don't drive whatever car, then you haven't made it. As far as what is being pushed by advertising, buy this, that will solve your problem of feeling like crap. Now you've made it because you've got a Corvette. Now you've made it because you're eating, Jif peanut butter instead of Walmart peanut butter. I don't know. More sneaky is, now you've made it because you've got a good job that makes money. And can, feed because you feed the corporate economy machine. But
I mean,
this feels like
proxies.
but this feels like a right around an industrial revolution is when this whole mindset would have started and really been pushed from above.
Yeah, but let me. I think the idea of marketing.
Did the peasants in the kingdom 500 years ago feel fundamentally worthless because he happened to be a blacksmith or a shoesmith or a farmer or whatever? In the same way that the doctor feels worthless because his Corvette's 3 years old.
I think we have Mandelbrot said it. Those extrapolations to be wider and wider and wider. But the peasants in Ukraine always knew that the pawn had more money and better house and better everything, and they were lower in social status than him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember.
I guess there was like an more explicit social class.
Regardless, that was just an interpretation back then, right? I remember the story that my grandma said, like, oh, she had a really good job and she worked for the pawn, and pawn had this land that was given to him, and then he had X number of hectares, and then like
pawn's kind of like a count or something.
Yeah, like pawn would have been like a
count or
royal like chain, and then he that was like somewhere at the bottom. I guess I say at the bottom, but still more so than the people who would work for him. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think we have on Earth, you're right, like humanism, learning humanism has always been, I have a trapped set of unsafeties that are becoming my defining factors. It's either I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm not enough, I'm bad, I'm unsafe. I'm a burden, whatever those are. And then the path in life is then basically to not recognize the root cause of what those are, but then like have the world poke you with them for the rest of your life. Right. That summary, right? Just our podcast is just that, right? But the number of the pokes, as we expand our everything, right? Like everything is expanding. Technology is expanding. Consumerism is expanding. Food options are expanding. Just everything is growing and expanding. So everything's continued to expand Mandelbrot set style in order to increase number of experiences, which is actually a positive thing.
I think so.
But because we're not addressing this root cause of the lens that we use to see the world, those experiences, then the larger number of experiences can only be perceived through the one lens that we're refusing to address, which is unworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I have 20 different designer handbags to choose from, as opposed to, not having a handbag at all or going to Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can go, okay, all of that is nonsense. Or I can go, oh my gosh, like here's this designer handbag, but this one is like only 10 of those were made. And you can't even buy those unless you're on some sort of special invitation list. So I will never be enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you can be of like, okay, the idea that a handbag industry even exists is not even in my foresight. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so all of those experiences are valid experience to have into idea of humanism.
Yeah.
And so you can be drowning in the idea that you will not get the 10 off invitation only handbag choices to buy, or you can be drowning that, mine is from Walmart and it sucks ass.
But it holds stuff, and that's really what a handbag needs to do.
Yeah. Or you can just not be participating in the idea of handbags altogether, or like on my end, and that's not even an experience that I seek out of this world. No judgment on any of that. You can actually participate. You can be at the top getting the designer 10 only handbag by invitation only and not have any pain body related to it at all.
Right. Right.
I would wager to say other things about it, but you can't be there without any pain body in that process.
Right. No, it's interesting because I feel like you do about handbags. I see some handbag on some TV show and they're like, oh, it's super rare, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. It looks like a bag to me. I couldn't tell you the difference between that and something from Walmart. I literally couldn't tell you the difference, especially at a distance. But there are things that I would care about and would notice the difference of, whether or not it's some sort of, I'm going to just be judgy and say that the handbag difference is a super artificial, inflated, pointless thing. Whereas, maybe there is a actual difference in a car or a computer or a camera. Whether or not the difference is valid or means something is itself a different thing. So there are things that, I have, oh, if only I had up the ladder.
But I would wager to say that deep down, if there is a difference in this consumer outlook on this is better and this is worse, there's still a tie to lesser than or whatever. So I would still encourage to identify that.
At some point there's the level of, I'm a professional. This is a tool. Does it do what I need it to do? Yes or no? If it's a no, you probably need a better one. If it's a yes, you're good enough. Check. You're done with this. You don't have to, you can stop talking about cameras and cars and computers.
Yeah.
That's the level to aspire to. Is there something that your camera is prohibiting you from doing because it cannot do it? Then maybe you need a new camera. No, it's not. The camera is not the reason you're not making films. That's not the reason anymore. Right. Same with the handbag. Will this Walmart handbag hold your, I don't know what, little Shih Tzu dog? Yes. Okay. Then that's a good enough handbag. The fancy one won't hold the dog any better. It'll probably get all scratched up.
I was just thinking the Shih Tzu's going to poop in it.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? That's not going to come out of your, I don't even know who makes fancy handbags. Louis Vuitton, maybe. They probably make like handbags.
I don't know.
So be more professional in your life with these things. And they're things, they're tools. They're there to do something. They're not really there they shouldn't be there to make you feel better about yourself. You can enjoy them. Sure, I enjoy using the camera to take pictures and make videos, but it's so easy for us to get lost in like using these things as like weird backwards definitions of ourselves, whether it's the stuff or whether it's the money or the house or the relationship or the whatever.
It's not weird. Is we have one pain body that feeds our belief system into the world. And everything out there is a proxy of whether we take this pain body and we feed it into this experience or we separate the pain body from that experience. And that's it. Whether it's consumerism or failed marriage or I don't know what the heck is out there other than that, right? Or having food in the pantry, right? Do you know what I mean? Everything in life is an experience and it can be what it's meant to be, deep down meant to be, or it can be a reflection of how you are not addressing the trapped energy within the system that has you seen this experience in the trapped way as opposed to the way it could naturally be. And I use the word naturally be as a vague statement because we don't even know what this experience would be if we approach it without any pain, body, or trauma.
Right.
If our marriage was to be seen without pain, body, or trauma, and then I wouldn't say shit to you because deep down I'm still not addressing whatever pain, body, and trauma is poking at me, and you wouldn't say shit to me because you are not being poked by your pain, body, and trauma. We don't even know what that marriage looks like. Right. Like we have not had an experience where you are a whole human being and wholeness of yourself experience oneness with light and I'm a whole human being, and wholeness with myself, experience oneness with light. And we can just come together as two proxies, joining energies for the sake of experience, period.
Right. Right. Because I mean, that sounds beautiful, but yet, I mean, the best we can do is work, hopefully get a little bit more shit worked out every day and say a little bit less shit to each other every day.
Yeah. I mean, that is commitment.
That's commitment. That's, you got to show up every day to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be willing to participate in change and hold yourself accountable to that willingness.
Yeah.
Right. And, this is kind of like bringing it back 360 to where, in my opinion, women are always know that is the only way that things move forward. In the world of increased awareness, intuitive awareness, women are more likely to be pushed into this field. Just being in the spiritual field of work world myself, right? Like most of our workshops are women. There are men come.
There are some men, but it is probably mostly 80-90% women.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Because they know they're being poked. I'm not saying they're succeeding 100%, but it's not about the success of 100%. It's about trying to every day bloom yourself into your full potential,
right.
And then not hold any grudges, not hold any failures, not hold any evaluations, and then go to bed and wake up and try that same thing again. Just always be trying the same thing. Every day is a brand new day to try to build more awareness within yourself.
I mean, at some point it starts turning into a like what I call like the default state, a habit.
Oh yeah, sooner or later it becomes very easy. But
right.
To begin with, you have to commit. You have to actively choose to do that. And so just because the mere nature of how intuitive women are and how they can feel their bodies, and then when they can feel something's wrong, they're going, no, this doesn't feel right. I need to do something about it. Just that pushes women into that work. And I think most men find that very threatening because deep down...
Threatening that women find it easy?
No, that women go into that space and all of a sudden things are changing and things are happening, right? Like in my case, that was an example. Oh my gosh, Tanya says crazy shit to people about, doing psychic readings on dogs. And our neighborhood is the epitome of enlightenment. Obviously going to understand that. Do you know what I mean? So just that statement within itself, right, is threatening to you.
Yeah.
But it's threatening to you on all kinds of levels. But deep down, it is me verbalizing my truth. And when women start to verbalize their truth, it's my way or the highway, because guess what? There's no wearing, that's a W word. I will not, there's not shoving me off of my path. You're trying to figure out what word I was trying to say.
Weaving?
No. You won't make fun of me, so I will not say it.
I'm going to make fun of you anyway.
I have a speech difficulty with the V's and W's because of my accent. And so half of the time I know...
Veering.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that. So right, I will not be thrown off of my path. I will not be pushed off of my path.
That's what you do is you completely reword the sentence to avoid the word. No, I mean, that's what I do. I'm like, I do that all the time.
But you don't have a speech impediment.
I do that frequently.
Yeah, I don't know why V's and W's are very difficult for me.
There's no W in Russian.
Is that Ukrainian.
Why? I always assume so.
No, is that why it's difficult?
Yeah, so like that letter that sound just does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, V's and W's are kind of similar, and
but to Americans, there's a very distinct difference between
very
a
distinct,
V.
yeah.
And so anytime I would do a V and W, you always
sometimes
use this as a form of sadistic entertainment for yourself.
It's very entertaining,
but it's sadistic.
You're going to do it anyway. I may as well enjoy it.
I see. Control.
Am I wrong?
Control.
Yeah. So some V words end up with W sounds. I don't know that there's a W word that ends up with a V sound though.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it is. I sometimes.
Which I find interesting because it's like you're taking a word with a V sound. V sounds exist in Russian, but then you're changing it to a W sound. So I always found that an interesting.
This is not a cognitive, it's not a cognitive
Believe me, I know.
It's just an ability to position the mouth just the right way in order to verbalize something. And then the harder I try, the worse it gets.
Of course. That's everything.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a word that Annabelle struggles with that she like a hallelujah.
Yeah.
And she says it usually right the first time.
And then she's like, I
can't
say
this. And then she questions herself. And then she like says something else. I don't remember what she like rewords hallelujah to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. Veering off of something. I don't know what. But right. So I will stay on that path, right? And I will choose to stick to that path. And once you choose your truth, or actually not even choose your truth, once you commit to your truth, there's this adamancy, at least on my end, right? To like, no, this is truth. And it's not that it hasn't been there. I've just been denying this truth within myself.
Right.
And so the second you hit on a point of self that you realize, no, this is me. And like, I'm done denying me. I'm denying my truth to myself. Most women reach that point in their path of awakening, and men find that very threatening. Like, spiritually, I hear all of these stories of women who are coming to our workshops who are like, oh yeah, I'm here. And my husband's just like, doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
I've been there here and I've heard those same stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It was threatening to me. And it did take me longer than you to come to these conclusions.
Well, because I think the fear / realization there is, if Tanya is this adamant to face the truth and to find the truth, chances are, if I'm going to be around her, I will have to dig on my truth.
But that's just my pain body happens to work out so that it did that. But that's
no. I think you don't think that the reason why most men do not want this is because they realize, oh, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to all of a sudden like have to do things in order to improve this marriage.
So it's easier to leave the
marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would rather leave the marriage.
It depends on if their pain body is losing love like mine is, or if their pain body is something else, in which case it's easier to leave than it is to deal with stuff.
Yeah. So most marriage end, I think this is the pivotal point, is women are being driven. I say women. Most women are being driven intuitively into, this is my truth. Like it or leave it, this is my truth. Right? Like we're saying no to abuse. We're saying no to neglect. We're saying no to control, right? Overbearing control. We're saying no to, in my case, I'm, I don't know. I will not verbalize what, but this is me. Right. One, because I've been denying it for myself. But then two is like, okay, it's bunkers, but I don't care at this point, right? It's like me saying this out loud or just me dying.
Right.
And most men who are, right, the marriage would end at that point if the man goes, okay, yeah, that's you, and I accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
But then two, realize, oh, this is going to change the fuck out of the path that I'm on.
Yeah.
And I will probably have to do something about this. Like I will actually have to somehow open and talk and accept and figure out, if I'm not accepting, why.
Right.
Why is this threatening to me? You can see nebulously, there's all of these things that I will have to do in order to accommodate this truth.
It felt so big and so, nebulous and so uncertain, which is scary. And it was in this whole realm of things which were already uncertain and scary.
Yeah.
Because they weren't in the science book. So, it was this giant black box of question marks. Very sharp, scary question marks.
Yeah, but it's interesting. One, I want to say, and I want to clarify this too, because I think this is important for whatever reason. Women are waking into their own truth. Like, this is who I am, and this has been suppressed. But what's super interesting is older women, I say older because the younger ones never left this space. So they already have this naturally. But older women are awakening to, oh shit, I have all of these intuitive extrasensory powers that I feel like need to come out that I have been suppressing all along. And that's huge, right? Because that sends you not only like, oh, guess what? Now you're committed to truth and fixing this marriage. Now you have this like superpower that either man will deem as crazy or like, I don't know, threatening, crazy or threatening. Yeah. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? And I want to say that. So it's not even the simply of you finding yourself in your truth and all of a sudden opening to like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go and sit at home while you go golfing 18 holes each Saturday with your buddies. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is healthy marriage where you just leave me and run off to a golf course every weekend. You could say, right? Like, for a woman to even say that out loud.
Well, you know, if that's what we want to do, then you get one weekend, I get the next weekend or something. There's some balance in there. Or maybe time together is the thing. Whatever it is, it's not, it can't be that unbalanced.
It's not even that unbalanced. Is the choice to run away from the family on the weekend, where if you work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and you have 2 days to be with your family as a family, and that is the time to be with your wife and that is time to be with your husband, and you're running away from that, it's bigger than golf. It's bigger than imbalance. There's a reason why you have decided to commit yourself to golf that much, because the only reason a man would pick golf as a hobby is because it gives you a long, long amount of time to justify running away from your family. No, I say that because that is actually the issue with golf. Is you can pick any hobby and not have a justification of why you need to be gone from your family for that long. Right? But you need to be gone that long. Your job needs to be this long. You have to, this is this important. Like the show that we're watching right now, he's like, if I don't do this all the time, you know, I don't exist. My job doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? The reason why you have to be gone that long, the reason why you have to go on all the business trips and commit that hard to being a vice president or taking care of the Johnson account is you're trying to run away from the status quo of your family.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're running away from the family, I think women are done pretending like the running away is not what it is. And then going, this is no longer going to work. Running away is not going to work. It's either we address it and I'm willing to work through this addressing, or we separate part ways.
Yeah. And you know, where's I going to go?
I use golf as a cliche, but deep down, it is a bigger issue. You're just running away from something. Right, you're running away from truth, addressing, talking, communicating, spending time where you chose to commit your marriage to, which is being together with a partner 50-50, but instead you're doing something else. You're not participating in marriage. And when men do not participate in marriage, and I say men, but some women do not, then women don't have an option. How can I be in a marriage where it's supposed to be participatory 50-50 relationship if the 50% is running away from the 50%?
Yeah.
Like there's nowhere to go. You know what I mean? But that is unwillingness to address the trauma that causes you to run away from yourself. And then you think you're running away from the marriage because what? But deep down, you're just running away from yourself. And you know, if you were to fix this marriage, that means you would have to fix yourself.
Right.
And you're not willing to fix yourself. Therefore, marriage is just a proxy for the fact that you're not willing to fix yourself.
Right.
Right. If you and I were to split up whenever I started verbalizing my animal psychic opinions, the decision to leave the marriage that you were contemplating would have been not about the marriage.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes.
It would have been you like, oh, I don't want to do the work for myself. I don't want to fix myself.
It took me a while to connect that. It took me a while to realize how much of that really was about myself. Say how much. It was all about myself. Right? It was all, how can I'm torn. I don't want to lose you and then feel unloved, but at the same time, ooh, this sounds scary. It was very, can't win this. Right? Where by win, I mean not feel.
Yeah, not feel.
Right. That was winning. Was avoid anything uncomfortable. Check. Now I've won.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the run, right?
That's the run.
If the marriage is ending, it's not because it has to. It's because one party is refusing to feel uncomfortable, deep down uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
because deep down, sooner or later, realize it actually is going to tear you apart. Like that childhood trauma is going to tear you apart, regardless of you doing this right now with your partner who's willing to be there by your side and help you with it, or you're going to die from it alone, drinking yourself to death or golfing yourself to death. But alone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like nothing in the relationship, any relationship, like it's interesting to me because I think this deep down, this truth, ending this relationship because you think it's unfixable and moving on to the next one, in the men's sense, will never actually work because you are still going to be the same person into the next relationship.
Right. And there, that relationship, maybe a couple of the issues are gone, but there will be new issues that come in.
No,
but
you're the same person.
You're the same person.
You're the same person. So you'll have the same relationship in the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your trauma defines you as the expression of your life.
Yeah, but the intersection of our trauma, I've got my trauma, you've got your trauma, and that intersection is the, super volcano for the marriage. And if it's with a different person, okay, well now there's a slightly different intersection. Maybe.
It's actually going to be the same intersection. That's the interesting part about life. Every single partner that you will find will be the exact same reflectory nature of the thing that you're hiding within yourself, but it could just balance between the polarities, right? But it will be the same thing. You will always be trying to solve the exact same problem with every single partner. Now, the positive thing is if you keep on rolling through marriages, maybe eventually you will go, oh,
look,
this one is worth sticking out with. I'm willing to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
That, right?
And maybe you'll go, oh, look, this same thing keeps popping up.
Well, no, you will see the same thing popping up. You will see that, oh my gosh, each marriage is the exact same version of the problem that I've had with the first wife, the second wife, the third wife. And the only difference is at some point you will be mature enough to choose to do the work, as opposed to once again giving up on this marriage and moving on and hoping to restart.
Right. I mean, at some point you realize that the common denominator is yourself.
Yeah. But right on the shows, remember we've heard a lot of like statements, and that's what this comes down to, is like a lot of ex-wives like see the husband finally find someone and then is willing to do the work, and they're like resentful, like, fuck, that is literally what I wanted from you when we got divorced 20 years ago.
There was some show where he got married and then he got into yoga and he got into all this stuff, and she's like, I was trying to get you into yoga.
No, this was like he was literally doing the work.
But he yes, yoga was the surface level thing, but he had actually become the person that the first wife wanted him to be, but he became it for the second wife.
Yeah, but it's not becoming a person that you want to be. Oh, no. In that case, he was still fake and not addressing his stuff, but he was pretending to do all this stuff for the second wife. I'm talking about actually doing the real work.
I don't remember what the details were.
Because he ended up divorcing, in that show, I think he ended up divorcing his yoga wife too, because it was like a way for him to fit into her world and make it seem like he belongs there, as opposed to still like discovering himself.
I don't remember.
What I'm talking about is, right, if you and I marriage were to end and then you went on to find a different partner, you are still you, right? If you chose to leave without any awareness or addressing of your deeper pain, body, and trauma, that is still the vibratory frequency of you, and that still wants to come out. So everything in your relationship would be a proxy of how it will come out. So that marriage will be exactly the same. You could quite literally, you will just have the same marriages over and over, right? And then I don't know, you could see that from the first marriage and not have to give divorce and do the due diligence to fix yourself and then thus continue to have your marriage work. Or you can go through however many reiteration of relationships of wives until you realize that. But sooner or later, in order to have a healthy relationship, that has to be addressed. And then if you stick through it, right, then you find yourself. And you can find yourself in one marriage or 5 marriages, knowing that all 5 of them will be the exact same way that first one was.
Yeah.
Like, you will have a honeymoon stage, and the honeymoon stage you could pretend like it's something else. And
I think
different colors and the different shades.
I think that's probably part of the reason that people jump from relationship to relationship is the honeymoon stage is, that's all nice. That's literally all rainbows and butterflies. Each other can do no wrong.
Yeah.
But that isn't reality.
Yeah.
And reality sets in after like a year or 2, or who knows. And then it's like the real person kind of ends up appearing.
Well, your true self that is struggling wants to come to the surface.
Right. The dopamine has finally, overdoses subsided, and it's like, oh, okay, you can actually see clearly.
Well, no, you realize you're still the same person you were when you started this relationship.
Nothing's really changed internally.
Because the only thing you want to change is actually the trapping of yourself in a lie, right? And the trapping of yourself in a lie does not end when you start a new relationship. Because, quite literally cannot by default, because you're still holding onto yourself trapped. So you're hoping that this is going to be your solution to the trapping, but the solution to the trapping is your willingness to address the trapping. And that has nothing to do with your partner. In fact, it is counterproductive to your partner because that will cause this relationship to fail.
Yep.
It's like it doesn't even work. That's the thing. Is like we're talking about this. Nothing will actually work until you choose to address yourself and your shadow and then your trauma and then your childhood mom and daddy issues, both for women and men. And nothing is actually real until you address that.
Yeah.
And so like the love is not even love. It's just like pretend love. Like happiness is not even happiness. It's just pretend happiness.
Right.
Consumerism is just a distraction. Alcoholism is a distraction. Travel is a distraction. Quite literally every single activity you participate in is just a distraction and false.
Yeah.
And cannot even be seen through the light of truth.
Right.
Until you are in your truth.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. You say that like travel is a distraction. Everything's a distraction. It's like my ability to actually enjoy the things that I do, the things that we do, such as travel, such as even work, or even just anything is so different now, because it's like it doesn't feel like a distraction like it used to. Back then I didn't realize it was a distraction, but right now it's clear how much it was. But like
traveling.
I mean, yes, but really anything.
Yeah, no, everything.
I mean, work,
everything.
Exercise. Yeah.
I mean,
exercise is another easy one. It's like,
I think this is.
when I was running away.
But I kept on telling that to you, and you just hated me for it.
Yeah, I did. But traveling is just flying away, traveling. Right. When you do the work, and that doesn't mean you have to be done, but if you're just at least trying, you gain this clarity into everything, and you get to enjoy life at a different level. Things become simpler. They become what they are, instead of something to cover up something else.
Yeah. But to me, like to hear this at some point on the path of personal awakening, to say that everything is actually false, like your experience is tainted by default if you're functioning out of a lie, and then therefore that experience is not what it is.
Very hard to hear.
Right. It's impossible. It's impossible to admit to.
Yeah. No, I balked at that a lot. And that kind of held me back, because I'm like, I won't accept this. I can't accept this, because accepting that means admitting, oh, this is so much bigger than I thought it was. This is just the biggest thing in the world. If I admit that, I mean, like literally everything that I'm doing to distract myself or pretend things are okay or whatever, then
which means nothing is what it is meant to be.
Right, but to admit that means that literally my entire life is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
A lie that I'm telling to myself, but a lie nonetheless. And that I fought that so hard for so long. That was probably the most threatening thing, because that was identity crisis level stuff for me.
Yeah, but ultimate responsibility.
Yeah. It was easier at the time to fight it and go, no, that can't possibly be true. There's this little tingling sensation inside that goes, it might be true a little bit, but kind of, double down. No, it's not true. I'm going to will it to be not true. I'm going to, stubborn donkey mode my way into this definitely not being true. Because if I say it enough and I believe it enough, then that'll make it not true. And then everything is the way it always has been, and known and safe, and everything's fine, and I can go on another vacation.
Yeah.
Because once you realize that, there's this time period where it's like, I can't do anything because nothing works anymore. Now, once you realize that running is a distraction, you don't want to run anymore. Once you realize vacations are a distraction, you're not inclined to go to the beach. Once you realize work is a distraction, you don't get a lot done for a while. So it is this period of great reset to go through that, which is in itself scary, especially if you have any sort of identity tied up into your work or whatever. That would make it so much worse.
Well, the reason why you have identity tied into it is because you've been using it as a calming mechanism for what you're actually feeling.
Yeah. Fortunately, when that happened to me, I didn't have a employer that I had to go to work for, because God knows how that would have been. Yeah, no, it was unsafe to go through that. But on the other side of that, I realized that it had always been unsafe, and I just didn't know it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key right there.
That's the key. It had always been chronic, low-level unsafe. And yes, the period of acute unsafety sucked, but I'm so glad that Band-Aid's been ripped off.
But it's not even acute. It's just finally giving the actual feeling space.
Yeah. But
you're always
I just wanted to fight it. I wanted to fight it and go, no, everything's fine. I'm safe. That was all I wanted to do. And I wanted you to go, you're right. Everything is fine. You're safe. But you're not doing that. And so that was unsafe too.
Well, in my case, I would just push you to find more things that are unsafe.
Yeah. And at some point, it's like, shit, everything's unsafe. And that's kind of the, honestly, I guess it was a relatively soft bottom, but that's the nadir where you bottom out, and once you actually for reals realize, oh shit, everything is unsafe. That's the life-changing point. Because then you've got nowhere to go but up.
But yeah.
And you have an incentive to go up because you feel like you're already at the bottom.
But you have to accept that I'm actually utterly unsafe. And that is the vulnerable spot that I'm refusing to acknowledge. And just going into that and acknowledging that that is your truth and staying in that spot and acknowledging it, and then seeing how everything you have ever done in the world, including the running, including the traveling, including the golfing, including the drinking, just simply flows out as a distraction from this spot. It unravels all of these pathways that you had to participate in because that was the thing that kept you safe.
Yeah.
Or distracted or unaware. And yeah, that's the pause. That's the identity crisis of I don't want to do them for the wrong reason. But then two, do I even want to do any of it? What is it that I want to do? And that's okay to be in the huge pause. And that pause can be very, very long. But while you're in that pause, you allow yourself to feel that vulnerability of unsafety.
Yeah.
Which is difficult, right? Because then you're torn open at the seams and everything is flying out at you.
Yeah.
But it sounds scary, but for the first time, maybe you finally feel any glimmer of safety is when you acknowledge the unsafety. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I am feeling alive for the first time because I'm letting myself be in my truth. And it happens to be a sucky ass truth. But to me, it was almost revolutionary because for the first time, my body was relaxed, feeling unsafe. Which is, I know that sounds weird, but I'm unsafe, therefore I'm tense, therefore everything I'm doing into the world is to somehow pretend like I have control over the world so I don't feel unsafe. But deep down, it's the tension. It's the tension that you're like, oh, I'm not going to move. I don't say that. I'm actually moving a lot in order to not acknowledge the tension, right? But the second you felt unsafe, truly unsafe, and acknowledged this huge amount of seed that is unsafety, I actually felt relaxed.
No, yes, that's exactly how it works.
Wow, that is the opposite of what I thought it would be.
I mean, it's just we talked about it an episode or two ago. The at the end of some yogas before we get into the shavasana, it's like you deliberately tense everything up and then relax, and you realize, oh, even before I deliberately tense everything up, I was still pretty tense, and it's only through deliberately. But that period of time is the emotional equivalent of.
But it's interesting because when you're unsafe, right? Because you're unworthy and you're bad and you're unloved or whatever this thing is that is your trapping, you automatically become tense in order not to feel that trapping, right? You have to have this wall barrier of density so you don't feel the no square. So then everything you do in the world is out of this tension, which is your manifestation realm. This is the manifestation realm, the no square. The density is we don't talk about that. But then this is the pulsation. The pulsation is this density trying to become acknowledged. And so then your manifestation into the world, all actions, really, this is the devastating part that hits you like a brick and you're like, fuck, nothing is real, is because you realize that you're functioning simply out of this unacknowledged density. But the second you choose to go backwards and acknowledge the density and go into the density, and you go, oh, look, I don't have to be tense in order to control everything. It's okay to be unsafe. Oh, I don't have to go golfing for 18 holes every Saturday in order to avoid my family. I can just be with my family. And you start to go into that space where you're acknowledging why you're feeling unsafe, why you have to do all of these things in order not to feel. You're, for the first time, maybe choosing to feel.
Yeah.
And when you feel, that density just starts to dissipate, because the only reason the density actually existed, it's not because it was threatened is because you were not allowing yourself to feel the unsafety.
You never felt it.
Well, you were refusing to feel the unsafety.
Yeah.
And density was there not to feel the unsafety.
Right. You instead of feeling it is the pressure release valve for your psyche. And if you don't feel it, you literally bury it. I mean, that's what we say, do you feel your emotions or do you bury your emotions? When you bury it, they don't go away. You're burying it inside of you and they just pile up and eventually.
Oh yeah, eventually. But in the meantime, it's just density.
Yeah, if you can feel it, that literally releases it.
Yeah, but it releases all the tension.
Yes.
And then it's okay to sit and not raw. I will say that there's this time where you do sit on this raw, like your bottom 3 chakras is completely torn open. And you're just like immensely unsafe. With me, I think that it started at the end of last year. So maybe close coming up to almost a year of that. And, and I'm not saying 100% of the time, but
yeah,
just that flow, the training of being willing to go there at the most rawest form. But being in it most rawest actually allows the dissemination of everything that is tension. And maybe it's the first time seeing my life for what it was meant to be as opposed to what I was trying to control it to be. Mm. Which obviously never worked. But then everything was tainted. And just I don't know, just realization of that every day is its own beautiful bloom, right? Like my morning glory dream is just that. Every day is its own bloom into the world. And it can be it can be whatever you want it to be. And then if there's no tension, the next day is just another bloom and just another bloom and just another bloom. And it's, I don't know, if for the first time it becomes very obvious how stupid I was to fight everything that was not my truth.
Right. Yeah.
But, life necessary.
Right.
But yeah.
You live and you learn.
Unlearn.
Unlearn. Maybe that's better. Right. Yeah, unlearn all the junk so that you can finally just be the you that's always existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of funny in a way. But that's the path. Yeah. Thanks for listening.